Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of Criminal Minds Evolution Season 1, Episode 9. This is the penultimate episode of the season. We have our cliffhanger for the finale. Things are getting dangerous. Will Elias Voigt be caught?
Okay, guys, everybody put on your hard hats for this video because this is not my favorite episode.
Dun, dun, dun.
They better be leading up to something about this whole Rossi thing because he went from super agent to bumbling buffoon in a way that I just don't believe. Like, none of this makes sense. The whole Elias character started to unravel in a way that doesn't make any sense. There was some things that just weren't coming together. So let's all buckle up and hit that curve together.
Well, let's also, before you hit the curve, hit the subscribe button on the way so you don't miss our upcoming videos. We are going to be talking, of course, about the finale. Maybe they will have a big surprise. Maybe they will all walk into the BAU at the end of this, and there will be Spencer Reed waving hello, and then it goes to black, and then we're just all mad and screaming. But hit that subscribe button for more coverage.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this whole Rossi situation that is going on here with Elias because they had this confrontation where Rossi rolls up to Elias's house. Elias comes outside. So that's the first thing where I was kind of like, okay, Elias has decided to engage, which I thought was kind of strange to begin with because he knows that Rossi's closing in on him and he has to deal with this. He has an entire network of killers that he has to deal with situations like this. He's been extremely careful for all this time, like a decade, where if he has a problem with his neighbor, he picks someone else. He picks a surrogate that he'll then go and kill off so that he's nice and clean. He did it with his wife where he needed to get some marital advice.
Yeah.
He picked up a real estate agent. Him going out to the car and baiting Rossi to come in and then drinking a wine and, being like, I can best you because I'm younger than you, and give this villain speech and then jump Rossi, and then he's gonna tie him up with like an extension cord. I'm like, you have a kill kit sitting in your garage. How are you can't be this sloppy. Then you're moving off of what you normally do, which is get other people to kill for you. You had time. You walked outside and engaged. Rossi wasn't coming in. So like a lot of this to me, I was kind of like, I don't know what's happening with the Elias character. He's going off script and he's not panicked in this situation and he had time. So why is he doing this? Then we have the Rossi situation. Yeah, I know I'm going on a rant here. And then we have the Rossi situation where he goes into the house. That's fine. We've seen Rossi do stuff like this before. He's still a field agent. He's still out there doing stuff, knocking on doors, whatever. He has so much training in being able to deal with situations like this that when Elias is like, I don't need a gun, I'm younger than you, I was like, okay, let's have some of this going on. You're younger than him, so you can overpower an agent who's been doing this for decades, who has a gun and knows how to be able to use it quickly in the middle of your villain speech. I was kind of like, none of this makes any sense that Rossi's going to be captured this easily, tied up loosely with an extension cord. And then when he's left in that container, he sees the light go on. He doesn't know who's on the other side of it. He could be live streaming. He could be Elias. He doesn't take that moment to be like, hey, everybody, take a left at the tree, the red house. I'm in this shipping container off of Route 2. I'm just like, he's just like, help me. I'm like, no, something doesn't feel right.
Okay,
rant done.
All right, so here's the thing I feel like with a lot of this Rossi and Voight stuff is that I think they had ideas that they just didn't fully execute, because you look at what I think they're obviously trying to show that Elias is scrambling and Elias is getting messy, and all of that can be true, but he can still be messy without going to the extreme that he did, where you're sort of like venturing off a little bit about what would make sense for this character even in a moment of panic. I think their desperation, I think, to have like the face-to-face confrontations with these two characters, especially because they set up everything with Elias reading Rossi's book, that I would think like they must have been like, okay, we really got to make this happen. But it's like, then you needed to let it percolate a little bit more. You needed to kind of take a little bit more time to figure out how to sort of make the mechanisms of this work so that it really makes sense for both of the characters. And this is where I'm gonna go full tinfoil hat here. I may be completely wrong with this theory, and then I will own it. But you know what? I want to believe that Rossi's got a little something more going on here, because they really milked how old Rossi is through a lot of this. You mentioned the conversation where he's like, I'm younger than you, and that's all right.
Yeah,
So
I'm younger than you, so I don't need a gun.
yeah.
I might as well just pull up the clown car. Let's all get in.
Okay, now the other part of this though was when they're driving in on the car, but around the time we get to the potty break, and we're basically, we're basically seeing this whole Elias give his whole, you're not that impressive, goodbye, grandpa speech that he's just like doing in the car towards him. And at that point, I was just starting to think, okay, they're setting up something here where we've already gotten this point, and they've specifically shown us now Elias saying that he's no longer treating Rossi like all that serious of a threat. And then we get to see the classic potty break that we have seen on a lot of this like various like criminal escape movies over the years, where Rossi's got to step outside, do some business. I feel like at some point in this process, and we will learn this in the finale, he must have put some sort of tracker on Elias to make people know exactly where he was going. But in order to fully sell this, he needs to continue to act helpless. Like when the light comes on and he's yelling, "Help me," which, yeah, as you said, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for this character. It makes a little more sense if he thinks that Elias is watching him, and if he tips off, where he is or where Elias is or anything else, then Elias is going to be like, "Oh noes," and then he's going to actually start panicking. So I want to think that we're some sort of like bathroom switcheroo going on here, and that Rossi will redeem himself in the finale. Please do not do me wrong, Criminal Minds.
No, that is a wonderful theory, and I
right.
really hope you're right, because if I'm still driving in this clown
Yeah.
car in the finale where Rossi is just an old man yelling for help, like that's what they're gonna do to him, and they're gonna do him so dirty, like it just can't be it. There's no way. This season has been excellent.
Yeah.
I mean, the Elias character's been great. It's been great to have everybody back.
Yeah.
I mean, Rossi's such a staple on the show. If this is how he's going out, it's just like, what? No, this is Rossi, the super agent. He's been doing this forever. He's incredibly smart. I think that if they had just tweaked a couple little things, they could have gotten around it another way. They were sort of beating that drum of, oh, you're just an old man. I don't need a gun because I got age, and I need a potty break because, I'm an old man. It's just like, okay, they are playing that quite a bit. Elias is a really smart guy. He's taken Rossi, who's like a super agent, who's got books out, he's got a little bit of fame about him. He's taken somebody who's really high profile in his car to go like leave him somewhere. Like none of this really makes sense. It's too high profile for him. And I think that's really where I'm having the hardest time with it is, yeah, I think the theory is right and Rossi's setting him up. But Elias, on the other hand, he's not new. He's been doing this a long time, and he's had this sort of network of killers for a few years now. We already saw him hand off that real estate agent to someone else. He could have done the same. It just feels a little odd.
All right, so is this the end of Tyler Green? Like, how much more are we going to see of this character now?
I feel like we might see a little more in the finale. I mean, it sounds like he's not doing that great in the hospital. Like, yeah, he could go. I mean, it's hard to know. I know you've had your tinfoil hat theory that, we're going to lose him by the end of the season. I just don't see him coming into next season. But I will say that the thing that they did well during this episode is giving us a flashback of what happened with Luke and Garcia on their
Yeah.
date, because I've just been really confused of, oh, we went on this date and it wasn't that great, so, back to normal. I was kind of like, wow, I feel really robbed with this. After seeing the date and seeing the way that it played out, it makes a lot of sense. And I mean, I think a lot of people can relate to that situation where it's like you worked with someone a long time or you've been friends with
Yeah.
someone a long time and you feel a chemistry and things are really good. And then you're like, let's take it to a date. But you've worked together for years, you've been friends for 5 years, 10 years, whatever. And then you go on the official date and it puts a lot of pressure on it, and then it gets really awkward. The thing is, sometimes that ends it, like it did here, where they were
Yeah.
like, oh man, this is just like all that chemistry is going out the window because now there's all this pressure. And they're like, okay, so it's done. And then it goes back to work, but then, the flirting comes back and there's still a little bit of that chemistry going on. The chemistry doesn't get sapped away. It's just there's too much pressure on that date. So I understand where they are with it now. I'm a little less, pissed off about it, but I still see that there could be something in the future. I mean, Garcia's explaining, she's just giving too much information to him, and he's just like, what? That guy? Really? I was like, yeah, you tell. I see your little
Yeah.
jealousy. It's
No.
still there.
No, Luke, it's fine that you're jealous. I get all that. I did like how they handled it too, because I think so much,
Feels real.
yeah, so much of what we see for these two characters has always been within the, confines of a case where I think they know how to talk to each other and have this sort of flirtation in a work environment, because they always sort of have this fallback, this thing that they're working on. But once they sort of didn't have that anymore and they were just left to their own devices, they just didn't really know what to say to each other. Like,
Yeah.
that feels real. That feels organic. And like I think they handled that well. I think this episode, like the pacing and the construction of it, I think made a lot of sense, where it was moving really, really quickly and we were starting to get somewhere. It's just like once they actually started to get to the explanation about how we got from point A to point B, that's where things started to fall apart a little bit.
Yeah, the first part of this episode was going really well. I mean, it was great seeing Rossi there talking to, his wife, and she's on the phone, and everything with the two of them trying to figure out, like, oh, let's get this and get the
Yeah.
kids, and, we got to go our separate ways for the night and meet back
Yeah.
up. And it was, that part was all done really well, like sort of the little backs and forths where, Elias comes into the station, sits with Rossi. I'm like, they had the confrontation and all that stuff that was going on. First half of this episode was great. And then all of a sudden it just like went down the hill. So if there's a really good payoff in this next episode where Rossi is setting it all up, I'm here for it. Like I cannot wait to see how it all unfolds. But if I'm still driving in that clown car in the finale and Rossi is legitimately in that shipping container being like, help me, help me. No. It can't be that way. Do not do him this way.
I'm gonna become just like clown royalty. There we go, for sitting on here and being like, writers, I see what you're doing. I believe in you. Then I'm just gonna be like,
you're right. I think you're right.
I hope I'm right. But who knows?
No, this show is really smart. Like I would be absolutely shocked. Like it's gonna be a very weird video next week when that happens, where it's just like, nope, Rossi's just like, old man, help me. So I just don't think they're going that way. I think you're right.
Okay, well, they're all right.
By myself in the face.
All right, well, we will be back to discuss this finale. Hit that subscribe button so you guys don't miss our coverage of it. You'll see exactly what transpires, and we'll see you here next time.